Welcome back to the Deep Dig A Sports Pod. I'm your host, D. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Drop some comments below. Let me know your thoughts. The game of the week ended up being Ohio State 31, Oregon 32 in a shootout. This was the number two going against the number three team in the nation, and the hype delivered just in the first half alone. We seen an interception that wasn't an interception. We saw a fumble. We saw a missed field goal, a muffed extra point snap. We saw a guy in Holden spit on another player of the opposing team and get kicked out of the game. It was a crazy, and that was just in the first half. So this Ohio State Oregon game was absolutely bananas, something that you just have to get hyped over. And man, like what a game. And I think it came down to ultimately it came down to the two quarterbacks. And I think before this, we had talked last week, like, okay, do we 100% trust Dillon Gabriel? I think it should have went both ways. And do we 100% trust Will Howard? Because we have not seen him on this stage before. And he has, he doesn't have the past that Dillon Gabriel has. Dillon Gabriel at least led his team prior to this to a huge win last year in the Red River now rivalry game as he led Oklahoma over Texas. So we have that in our bag. Will Howard hasn't had this big of a stage in this big of a moment and this big of a showing. And that was the thing that let Ohio State down the stretch. It comes down to Will Howard, it comes down to Ryan Day and those two things. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was a hell of a game, and you felt it. Like you felt the atmosphere in Eugene. You felt the crowd get into it. You felt that from the Oregon Duck side and Dan Lanning. You felt like this team was prepared and ready to do anything to win this game. It was intense, and I mean, even the commercials. The one thing that I thought really set the tone was like after the first drive. I don't know if you guys had seen this, but on the broadcast they had the this Oregon Ducks commercial. And it was the Modern Family guy, Ty Burrell, and he's talking over like a groundskeeper keeping the ground and talking about how the Big Ten has all this tradition and they're honored to be there. And then all of a sudden you hear this like, and this motorcycle comes and it's the Oregon Duck riding a motorcycle and he burns a couple wheelies and draws the O for Oregon and heads out of there. And I'm like, damn, Oregon came to play. Like Oregon's not from marketing all the way to the team and on the field. They stepped up. And again, that first drive, they had an interception. It was not called in on the field, and they did not stop to review it. But it was an interception, and everybody knew it. And so you kind of see the Oregon, Ohio State took advantage of that, ended up scoring on that, and really shut the crowd down. But this team really battled back. They came back and they got the crowd back into it, and it was just a dogfight from there on out. We seen Oregon's defense was way tougher than most people expected. I did not expect them to get as many opportunities and turnovers as they did. We seen it from both the defense and the special teams. That onside kick was crazy to come out there and just rocket one straight at one of the receivers was crazy, but it ended up working out. And it was things like that that separate what happens when you win and what happens when you lose. Because again, Oregon was down points. Oregon missed a field goal and they missed an extra point. So that is 4-point swing right there. And if you account for the interception that wasn't an interception, that could have been who knows what happens on that drive. That's points taken away from Ohio State, which Ohio State did the right thing and ended up scoring on that drive when they needed to and really setting the tone for the rest of the game. But man, Oregon came to play. Dillon Gabriel came to play. He just made the right throws at the right time and he did not shy away from the spotlight. It was a good game. One thing they're going to have to shore up is making sure that they do not kill themselves with stupid penalties once they get hyped, because we see that just Dan Lanning is naturally that type of guy to get hyped, to push other guys and be like, yeah, let's go. He is a hype coach. Going to have to rein that in if we're going to be honest moving forward, because you see it with Holden spitting on the Ohio State corner. You can't let things like that happen. You can't let your emotions get the best of you, and it starts at the top. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in this show with Kirby fucking Smart in Georgia. But anyways, I really liked this Oregon Ducks team. I liked what they were doing. I kind of felt like this was a huge upset moment for Ohio State coming into it, just because one, Ohio State hadn't played anybody, and I think that really goes a long way for scheduling. Is if you're playing turkey, tomato can after tomato can after tomato can, turkey after turkey after turkey, you can't be ready when you're in these type of games. And Oregon, we seen they had gotten tested early on. They went to, or they had Boise State come, and Boise State punched them in the mouth. They took them to overtime. And I think as collectively, as you move throughout the rest of this season, you take moments like that, like, okay, well, we were down. We came back against Boise. We won it in overtime. That's a now in the vault for this specific team, and that's something that goes a long way. And Ohio State doesn't have that. They were just blowing by people. And I just don't think they had it in their reservoir. If they had had a good game on their matchup that they had struggled on early, what they probably shouldn't have struggled in, it would have been a lot different, I think. But ultimately, again, it came down to Will Howard. It came down to Dillon Gabriel. And we'll talk about the last sequence of events. I know they're saying that Dan Lanning did it on purpose. I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit. I don't think that they put the 12th man out there on purpose. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think it was just a happy accident. And, but from the other side, from Ryan Day and Will Howard, you have to recognize that. You have to recognize what is going on. You have to recognize that I don't know how they killed so much. They were so lackadaisical with their horrible time management. And then Will Howard at the end, you fucked up, dude. I mean, it happens to everybody, but for you on this stage, it cannot happen. You cannot lose sight of where you're at. It had to be one, two, three, find a guy or throw it away. You cannot scramble for that yardage no matter what. Like, you just got to give yourself another down, another chance to get after it. But you can't do what you did. You held it way too long, and then you scrambled when you shouldn't have scrambled. That sucks, and that's going to be the difference between winning and losing when it comes to these top five teams. But I mean, realistically, Ohio State, I think, has bigger problems. And one of their things, they were supposed to have an awesome defense. That defense just did not show up on Saturday. It was one of their number one corner, Burke, got burnt. They were picking on him the entire game. He was just getting burned after burnt, dude. It was insane. So and their pass rush was just not there. At certain points, it was just like Dylan Gabriel was doing whatever he wanted back there and finding open guys. And you failed at all three levels on your defense. I think there's something needs to change on that defensive side of the ball, because you have basically an all-star team back there. You got to get it figured out. I don't know what happened, but you should be let down. You should feel degraded on this. And it starts with coaching. You got to figure out what's going on. You got to get to the core of it. Ryan Day, I'm pretty sure to like Monday is going after it and getting into these guys' ass and figuring out who's going to actually be a starter for me moving forward. I mean, man, ultimately, like, you just got let down on that end. You got let down at the quarterback. Even your two guys, I mean, they call thunder and thunder, lightning and lightning. Quinyon Junkins fumbles the ball in like the second possession. You can't have things like that happen. I mean, that's the difference between winning and losing at this level, and you lost the game. But you move forward. You're still in a pretty good spot now. I'm pretty sure they're still going to be highly ranked in the top like 10 to 15. If I'd be very surprised if they fall below 10, I'm going to be completely honest. You have a real chance again with this Big 10 to make moves still. You still have a pretty strong enough schedule to prove that you are a powerhouse team in this league. So continue to move on if you're Ohio State, but if you're Oregon, you're feeling great about this. This moves you probably up to number 2. Yeah, this moves you probably up to number 2. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be. And you got to be feeling great. Dan Lanning, you're like, okay, finally, I got this staple win. Now let's continue to move forward. On to the next one, boys. Let's go ahead and get after it. You can't have a letdown like we seen a couple weeks ago when Bama beat Georgia, and all of a sudden everyone's punching their ticket to the playoffs, and everyone's like, oh, what's Jalen Milroe? He's the Heisman favorite, and blah blah blah. You can't let all this talk get to your head. You got to get back in the lab. You got to get after it. Don't get content with just a big regular season win. Continue to stack these up, and you're going to be fine. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Drop some comments below. Later.